Oh my goodness. How is everybody doing? Today, we got something very, very special, very interesting. Something so abnormal it has never happened on this channel before. So what this is, we basically received this manuscript yesterday or 2 days ago. I did the review, spent like 40 minutes, almost like an hour, just doing this critique beta read here. And it ended up having no sound. Okay, so I just checked the volume today, and it looks like we got sound. So I don't know what the heck happened. That was so funny. I was on YouTube. I was like, dude, there's this? I can't hear anything. Then I checked on my computer, and yep, looks like this fancy Neumann either didn't record or whatnot. Anyways, so with that being said, I'm like, you know what? Hey, let's do a redo video. So this is the first ever redo. So what this is, we do beta reads here. I'm a 5-star beta reader, ghostwriter, editor, yada, 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 and a published author. You know what, let's speed through this. Let's get those plugs out of the way. Like, subscribe, check out some of my books. Pretty interesting. Yamikage, A New Dawn, Not Every Star in the Night. Oh my goodness, and Bright Dreadful Sun. So many different books. I've actually released more since here. But we're not here to talk about my books. We're here to talk about this one. Oh my goodness. So I sat there and I thought, what's the best approach I could take this? Because in case anybody hasn't seen the channel, what this is supposed to be is a speed beta read, as if I'm opening the book for the first exact time. And I'm just kind of supposed to just critique as I go with fresh eyes. But this is not going to happen because I already did it. So I guess what we could do here today is kind of recap. I waited till the next day so I could kind of, get a little bit more of that freshness feel, that fresh eyes. So with that being said, let's go through this. This is probably going to be a lot, what's the word here? A lot swifter, swifty swift than yesterday. So, yeah, let's jump right in this. It's a shame because I really went in depth with this one. So let's just see what's going on. I'm going to try to remember the critiques, just diving right into this, because we got more beta reads to do today. Okay, so first things first, I remember the title. Go ahead and center that. Alternative font, possibly raised, separate page. From an editing standpoint. From a marketing standpoint, this is very important. That title has a lot of glue words, what's called glue words, filler words. Too long, and it's not helpful to the SEO. If you look at words like her, you, and the, for example, or even who. These are words that are just very blank, very glue, very filler. So I would redo the title with SEO in mind. Maybe Girl Who Loved Two Princes. And the her before you, that doesn't need to be there at all. It just doesn't need to be there. So yeah, just from an editing standpoint, wouldn't put that a little bit too long. From a reader standpoint, also a little bit too long. And from a marketing standpoint, the SEO might not be best there. Search engine optimization. So, but not a lot of people think about that. But I'm part of the biz here, people. So also, I received the synopsis, which is pretty interesting. Sometimes they give me that. So what we have here is Arya Mayne is a new queen in need of a king consort to claim her throne, her brother's best friend. I remember seeing this chapter and reading the synopsis, and then reading what I got, and it was like there was not a lot of that in mind. I was actually a little bit more on the critical side with this one, and I like me more on the complimentary side. So let's definitely try to get through that balance here. I want to give that balance between critiques and compliments, because fellow beta readers, we're supposed to lift up the author. So with that being said, this, I do remember it definitely needs more drafts. Definitely needs help with the presentation. Same with the dialogue. Just there's a lot of elements that definitely need work, all of them. So with that being said, let's see. So Arya Mayne, I remember there was way too many characters at the front. Arya was, I don't even think she was in sight at the point. So this synopsis is not indicative. You should be able to kind of be able to formulate what's in the synopsis on that first chapter. So with that being said, first page, first sentence, first chapter, first everything, very important. And okay, cool. Yeah, I remember she started on dialogue here, which is pretty fun. So what's the trick to that? Two things. Number one, you've got to nail the dialogue. You got to make the dialogue nice, and you got to nail that first line. You got two jobs here. And that was also something from yesterday as well. So what we have here is a fantasy mixed with the romance. And the big point yesterday was you don't want fusion confusion. You don't want, I really hope the sound is on. Oh my goodness. You don't want fusion confusion, which is what I was kind of seeing here. So, and this is a common thing. So I recommend either having a good romance novel with all those elements and a fantasy element underneath it as the underlying element, or a great fantasy novel hitting all those necessities and then having romance as a compartmentalized component of that. So with that being said, a lot of times people try to get that 50-50 balance. It's almost impossible. No, I don't recommend doing that. I recommend picking your primary genre, nailing it. Because right here, I remember it was a lot of confusion. So with that being said, if you're going to build a fantasy world, know how to world build, know how to do all these things. And same with romance. And you know how to build a wonderful romance, increase tension, reduce tension, all these things. So with that being said, first line, first sentence, I would redo it. Oh, it's not even on the page. You got to scoot up. The first line is, "What are you doing, baby?" She whispered, watching his hands drizzle water up and down. I did like how we had the nonverbals in there. That was really nice. I like how you start off with the character in the midst of the dialogue. I remember one of the biggest critiques, too, is I would rather see one beautifully elevated main character, perhaps Arya, for example, as opposed to what we got was almost a dozen characters, like two handfuls of characters. I remember the presentation. I said this in, all due respect, I suppose I could say. I would say if I got this manuscript, I would send it back, even just based on this first page. So double check that. Presentation has a lot to do with it. I would open up this opening dialogue a little bit differently. I forgot what I said yesterday, but what are you doing, Barry? Maybe make it more encompassing, more symbolic or aesthetically pleasing. I would focus on aesthetic. This is another thing too. Watch that dialogue to narrative balance. I called them cheeseburger paragraphs. Okay, really nice. They're those five nice sentences right there. Those delicious 5 sentences. And sandwich paragraphs, as you guys know, are those healthy 3 sentences. And then what we have here is onion chops, the ping pong dialogue to open the novel with. I recommend starting on a beautiful narrative, a wonderful narrative. A lot of silhouette characters. So usually I read this line by line, but we already did this. Watch out for the tells, not shows. I remember that as well. You don't want too much telling. It feels like getting poked. In the midst of the dialogue, one thing that I also saw, and you can even, I have Pro Writing Aid on right now, so it's actually kind of funny because Pro Writing Aid might actually help catch some of these. So one thing is, I remember those swear words. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what is wrong with swear words? Nowadays, it's not the shock value. No. What it is the filler, the glue. It's things that bog things down. So I remember I saw a couple swears here, and I was like right here, it says, "Hey asshole." Sorry, Office Rank. Don't ban me, YouTube. I saw it, and I was like, okay, interesting, but what I always ask them, what the purpose is. Is this serving a purpose? Is it serving a necessary purpose, or is it going to hold things down? So with that being said, I definitely found a lot of them that held things down. Here it's emphasizing a bit of emotion. That's not too bad. But then you got lines like "shut up." That's something you more oversee in like a screenplay, something really small. You want to have your dialogue with purpose. You want to have everything bouncing off each other. So your setting should be bouncing off character development, world building. All these things should be bouncing off each other consistently. So with that being said, feel free to watch the harmonic writing video. I compared harmonic writing to almost like chords. Where they make great chords. You want to have harmony in your writing, and you don't want dead ends basically. And when you have lines like "shut up," for example, that could turn into a dead line. Prince Charming, her alley in war. Alley in war. That's where I take out the trash in the alley. I don't know. So this presentation, I would redo this first page, especially this opening part here. I would definitely redo all of that. And what I remember is right here. Double check your timeline, by the way. Also, ladies and gentlemen, double check your timeline. June 4th, 2017. I would eliminate that. A lot of times that's more trouble than it's worth. A lot of times people get lost in the timeline. A lot of times the timeline becomes completely irrelevant. So with that being said, I would eliminate the timeline. It also brings those real world elements into play here. So we double check that. But 2017, this doesn't seem like a 2017 type of thing. But anyways, it's fine. Just double check your timelines, people. A lot of people get lost. Now, this is those cheeseburgers, those delicious cheeseburgers I'm looking at. So right here, this is a great way to open a novel. So if you could find this presentation on the screen and maybe reformat it into that, the mind loves symmetry. It despises asymmetry without purpose. So if you deviate with purpose, that's great. But if it's by accident or just deviating without purpose, it could be a little because that opening page, I would see that and I'll go, no. It wouldn't even take me 10 seconds. So with that being said, this is what beta readers are for. So I'm happy to help. So with that being said, right here is a beautiful example of a nice presentation. Love this. We have specific characters in the mix, which is wonderful. I really hope my mic is on. Please be on. Yeah, and here's where things kind of also started to get off the rails a little bit. So I started looking and I was like, this is really nice. And then I started seeing an onslaught of characters, so many characters. I remember at the end there were silhouette characters, which is kind of just like characters that are silhouettes, just regular silhouettes. I can't really tell. I would rather have one or two beautifully elevated characters, especially a main in a romance novel. It's so important. Even in a fantasy novel, that hero that is so important. And we don't want to scatter. We don't want the people to be ripped, the attention to be pulled in all different types of directions, which is definitely the feel I got with all these characters. All right, keep it moving on. Oh man, it's like I said, I wasn't in such detail. I went like line by line yesterday. And then I watched. I was like, no. Ethan Main, yeah. So watch out your characters. Yeah, this is definitely gonna be a speed beta read, even speedier than I usually do. But yesterday was just 40 minutes. Oh my goodness. So double check. I was also looking for the introductory elements. Some of them were missing. I was looking for the inciting incident, which I love to see in that first chapter, or I love to see a hint. If I can get a first page and be able to discern the genre, the plot type, the main character, even just all the different, if I can, a beautiful selling, elevated dialogue, if somebody hits all those cylinders on that first page, it's wonderful. I get very excited. So definitely watch out for this. You definitely want, basically, you want to put your best foot forward. You could definitely, I know you could do a better presentation because I see them here. But look at this shitberry. That doesn't need to be there. That can go. That's just I don't want to call it unprofessional writing, but it's in this manner of being filler, of being something that bogs down. It doesn't need to be there. So double check words, like even Pro Writing Aid, if I ran the relevancy thing, it would say, what do you want this for? Oh my goodness. So yeah, double check that. Also we had education, which is good because it's part of the world building. Education, really nice. And you know, this isn't exactly like a fantasy, I don't know, it puts itself forward as the, what's the word here? As kind of like the aesthetic, or maybe rather just kind of the personification of what a Game of Thrones type thing might be, but it doesn't have that expansive world building. What we have is like this castle cast. I'm gonna call it that from now on. Castle cast. Everybody's having fun, royalty, yada yada yada. That doesn't. I don't know if that plays well, especially given the timeline. That was a bit odd. But with that being said, when you're in and here's the thing too, is we don't know where we are. There was a lot of absent settings. A lot of settings were not elevated. You're like, there was so many lack of settings. So this is also something I said. So important aspects, put them on a scale. How much time is spent with setting? Okay, you don't want to spend all day there, but how much time is spent with unnecessary stuff? How much word count is spent on filler? Oh, you wouldn't believe. So when I receive manuscripts, like fully finished manuscripts, and I run them, sometimes they're like 67% glue. Sometimes they're like literally like most of their manuscript is filler, and they don't even realize it. So get into the great habit of reducing filler, keeping that in mind. Asking yourself constantly, do I need this? Because if I ran this right now, I guarantee you this would probably get cut in half, which is all the filler. So double check that and really get that setting in there. That's something I was really hoping for. I never got. But I did. We saw a lot of good nonverbals, which is good. We saw some elevated dialogue tags, which is great. Caroline CC Condor. I don't know what the CC is for. Okay, so here we got the house's grand ballroom setting. This is, I think, one of the settings we got here. But look how much time is spent there. Really elevated. I love a great setting. The readers love a great setting. We don't like glue, so double check that. So this line, for example, Prince, he began, that could go, doesn't need to be there. The Prince smiled, can be incorporated. And also double check this because a lot of valuable page space, and this happens all the time, a lot of valuable page space here is being kind of taken up by the onion chops at the top here. There's my mouse. I want a laser pointer. That'd be awesome. Anyways, like one that could go on the screen. Yeah, here's my mouse. Okay, 5 minutes passed. So specific passage of time, you could utilize a dinkus there. It might need it. I actually didn't see that yesterday. 5 minutes passed. You could utilize a dinkus there, but it doesn't necessarily need to be there. It's also double check. Let's go, Ethan. Also, these character profiles are not all elevated. They're not all elevated. I want to spend time with Arya. I don't want to spend time with any of these other characters, like the majority of these other characters. Because I remember I had so many. I was like, where? Who's who? And the synopsis, it didn't do it justice. Also, at the same time, I would elevate the synopsis as well. Although, like right here, was amusing. That doesn't need to be there. That can go. Her eyes met Bart's. Also, watch the Tell Not show. Hey, there's stranger. You use your dialogue with purpose. Like, ask yourself, what is this supposed to do? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Definitely double check these things right with them in mind. I got a feeling that if these characters were elevated, they could be very lovable. Last names can help. So like they're just very odd. It's like we got Bart, and then we have Arya. Ethan. It's like there's just a lot of dissonance floating around. So this one I'm certainly more on the reformat side as opposed to it's almost good to go. So definitely more on the go ahead and do 2 more drafts type of scale as opposed to dude publishes now. Not yet. So with that being said, double check. A lot of it has to do with the presentation as well. Okay, wow, you guys watched the dialogue. I did like yesterday how some of them had individual voices. That's kind of hard to nail. It's not all the time, but I saw some prime examples in this manuscript where there was a lot of characters and they had their unique voices, which is good, very important, especially when you got that a lot of places. So Warlandia, I don't know where that is in the world of Earth, because we're using Earth time, June 4th, set 2017. So watch out for dissonance. I would remove the timeline. And then we talk about wars, like what is this? Are we on Earth or not? Are we on some sort of like substitute Earth? I see that all the time. I read many manuscripts like that where we're on Earth, but it's a fantasy realm. Usually, kind of the remedy there is to kind of add some indicators. Make that a blatant point. Make that crystal clear, but in a subtle manner. And there's a lot of balance here. This presentation needs balance. Just a lot of elements here need balance. Keep on going, keep on going. Looking for the inciting incident. That's something I was like really keeping my eyes out. There's a lot of introductory elements missing, and there's some tension being raised here. So with that being said, I was sitting here looking for check marks. I'm always in my mind. I'm always check, trying to find the check marks, and that goes for both sides of the aisle there, where critiques, constructive criticism, compliments, always kind of finding these checks. Like sinister laugh, so that's sensory detail, very nice, but with emotion. So if you could present that in an elevated way, that's awesome. Because this is a new subject. The Assembly shared the way it's presented. It's taking up page space. It doesn't need to do that. Opt for this style right here is really nice. This is why when I see an author can execute it, I hold them to that standard always throughout the whole novel. If I see a author nail a character profile, I'm gonna hold them to that standard, the whole profile. And this is exactly one of those situations where I see a nice presentation like this, and it doesn't necessarily all need to be like that, but if you have something that works, run with it. So I would definitely recommend reformatting this presentation here. Very nice, but when we get the onion chops, that usually gets a little bit off kilter. Here we got looking at the screen, got a nice little balance right there. But watch out. I would keep the cheeseburger paragraphs your kind of baseline, because when they show up, it's fun to read, and it's also easier for the symmetry. It's easier for the mind to read as well, because the mind reads in S's as well as internal dialogue, and that's for the average reader, not for the avid reader. The avid reader is different. Like someone like me, for example, we think in images. So we're trained not to internalize the dialogue. We're trained to basically formulate images as we go, and that's how you speed read. That's how they teach you how to speed read. And you also have what's called patterns. We read with patterns, different types of patterns. And when you have asymmetrical presentations like these, and with a lot of irrelevant material and a lot of glue, it's hard to read. Especially for the avid readers, and even the average readers might be like, what? So piss off, for example. Piss off, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, that's it. Oh, wow, that did go fast. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so yesterday I was 40 minutes. We cut it down in half. That was wonderful. Maybe I should start aiming for this time. I got another beta read after this, which is pretty fun. I think it's a little bit more up my alley, but if I had somebody put this on my desk to ghostwrite to add word count, I would definitely focus on the presentation. I would actually eliminate more than I would add and then elevate. So with that being said, the approach I would take to the rewrites, is number one, have your presentation in mind. Maybe if you want, go. I mean, hopefully this is very helpful. It often tends to be. Maybe take a checklist, write down maybe some of these critiques. Maybe just even one words like presentation, and just checklist them. A lot of people take me seriously, although I don't take myself so seriously. But with that being said, go ahead, run through this, see what made sense, what didn't make sense, and redo it. Not necessarily redo the whole thing, but I would first, the approach I would take is to pull back a lot and then elevate what's most important. So, with that being said, even pro writing aid is like, what is this? Sometimes. So double check. Good job. I'm definitely excited. Let me know when this comes out. This should be pretty fun. Okay, everybody, like, subscribe, and keep on writing. Get those 500 words in today. Get those 1,000 words in today. We're writing, and the first thing I'm going to do is check the sound. That was the first time I ever happened. That was so funny. I was like, no! All right, take it easy, everybody.